Did you know that in 2025, more than 300,000 people are expected to leave major UK cities voluntarily? And no, it's not because they've all suddenly fallen in love with the countryside. Some cities that were once booming, trendy, and full of promise are now on the verge of being deserted. London, Birmingham, Manchester, names we've all heard 1,000 times, are now on top of the most left cities list. But why? Is it the skyrocketing rent, crumbling infrastructure, or maybe something far worse, like rising crime and vanishing job opportunities? This isn't just a random trend. It's backed by hard data from housing markets, social research, and economic forecasts. People aren't just moving, they're fleeing. And what's even more shocking, some cities that used to be dream destinations are now making people feel trapped, broke, or outright unsafe. Stay with me, because city number 1 will blow your mind. It's a place most people would never expect to see on this list. So why exactly are thousands packing up and leaving these places in 2025? Let's uncover the truth behind this urban exodus and see if your city is on the list. Number 10. Newcastle. Coming in at number 10 is Newcastle, a city once celebrated for its vibrant nightlife, friendly community, and rich industrial legacy. But in 2025, Newcastle is experiencing a quiet crisis. People are leaving, and they're not looking back. On the surface, the city still glows with charm, the bridges over the River Tyne, the buzzing quayside, the warmth of Geordie hospitality. It's all still there. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find the cracks, literally and figuratively. Climate change has hit this part of the UK hard. Newcastle now faces increasing risks from flooding and extreme weather, especially in lower-lying areas. According to environmental studies, rainfall in the region has spiked dramatically, leading to more frequent infrastructure damage. Homeowners are paying the price, with rising insurance premiums and unpredictable repair costs, draining already stretched budgets. Then there's the economy. Once touted as a future-facing tech hub, the city has been hit by corporate relocation and job losses. Several high-profile startups have either moved operations south or shut down altogether, leaving a trail of unemployed graduates and anxious young families behind. Public services have also taken a hit. Long hospital wait times, delayed council services, and increasingly unreliable public transport are common complaints. Many feel that essential services are collapsing under demand they can't meet. Add to that a sharp rise in living costs, from groceries to rent to utilities, and you get a picture of a city losing its grip on affordability. Newcastle hasn't lost its soul, but for many it has lost its future. And while it still holds cultural and emotional value, thousands are opting to leave in search of stability and opportunity. And trust me, the reasons only get more dramatic from here. Number 9. Swansea. At number 9, we head to the Welsh coastline, Swansea. Known for its scenic beauty and friendly pace of life, it may come as a surprise to see this city on our list. But in 2025, more people than ever are packing up and moving out. And the reasons are both surprising and serious. First, let's talk jobs. Swansea was once seen as a promising spot for digital growth and tech startups. But that growth never fully took off. In fact, recent labour market data shows a steady decline in high-paying job opportunities, especially in tech, finance, and professional sectors. Many graduates are finding they have to move to Cardiff, Bristol, or even London just to land stable work. At the same time, the cost of living has crept up quietly. Locals report that energy bills have doubled since 2022, and rental prices have followed. For a city marketed as affordable, the reality in 2025 tells a different story. Then there's access to services. NHS backlogs in the region have caused significant frustration, with wait times for basic care stretching into months. Public transport is patchy, making daily commutes harder than they should be, even for those with jobs. Even the housing market has become unstable. A flood of second-home buyers during the post-COVID property boom drove up prices, squeezing locals out of their own communities. Despite its natural charm and slower pace, many residents feel like they're stuck in limbo, not quite urban enough for opportunity, not quite rural enough for peace. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you from Swansea? Have you noticed these changes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And while you're here, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button for more updates on UK cities and urban trends. Number 8. Coventry. Coventry doesn't usually make headlines, and maybe that's part of the problem. It's a city that's always been quietly in the background, reliable, industrial, understated. But lately, Coventry has been slipping through the cracks. Talk to people who've lived there their whole lives, and they'll tell you something's changed. There's an unease you can feel, not in a dramatic, headline-grabbing way, but in the little things that wear people down over time. Take housing, for example. It's not just expensive, it's mismatched. Too many flats and not enough family homes. Rents are up, mortgages are harder to get, and availability is shrinking. People who once planned to settle here are now browsing listings in Nuneaton, Rugby, even Birmingham, despite its own issues, just to find something livable. Then there's the city centre. Regeneration projects promised a new era, but delays, half-finished developments, and business closures have left an awkward in-between space. It's not the past anymore, but it's not the future either. Schools are stretched, and job growth hasn't kept pace with population demands. For younger generations, Coventry often feels like a stepping stone, not a destination. You come here to study or start out, but then you move on. And perhaps most tellingly, there's a kind of quiet resignation in the way people talk about the city. No anger, just fatigue. Coventry isn't falling apart, but it's losing momentum, and in 2025, that's enough for many to walk away. Number 7. Sheffield. Sheffield was once hailed as a city on the rise, affordable, green, and proud of its industrial heritage. But in 2025, a different story is being written. Quietly but steadily, people are leaving. And they're not just leaving for better jobs, they're leaving for better lives. Let's start with infrastructure. According to recent government assessments, Sheffield ranks among the lowest UK cities in per capita public investment. Roads are riddled with potholes, buses are delayed or simply don't show. And the much-hyped supertram, it's become more of a meme than a solution. Healthcare is another breaking point. NHS performance data shows longer than average wait times in South Yorkshire. In some cases, residents have waited up to 9 months for routine surgery, an impossible ask for families and elderly people alike. The housing situation hasn't helped. Property prices remain somewhat affordable, but it comes at a cost: poor housing stock. Outdated buildings, lack of insulation, and energy inefficiency have pushed utility bills through the roof. And while Sheffield still boasts a strong student population thanks to its 2 major universities, that's also part of the problem. Graduates leave, locals feel squeezed. The rental market caters more to temporary residents than to long-term community building. Job opportunities? Declining. Manufacturing isn't what it once was, and the city hasn't fully transitioned into a modern tech or finance hub. Many skilled workers simply feel stuck, or worse, irrelevant. Sheffield isn't a ghost town, but it's no longer the rising star it was supposed to be. And for a growing number of people, the math just doesn't add up anymore. In 2025, more and more are deciding it's time to move on. Number 6. Leicester. Leicester is a city of contrasts. On one hand, it's vibrant, diverse, and rich in culture. But beneath that surface lies a growing tension, one that's quietly driving people away in 2025. Talk to long-time residents and they'll tell you, the Leicester they knew a decade ago feels very different from the Leicester they live in today. Community cohesion has taken a hit. Following high-profile clashes in 2022 and beyond, ethnic tensions have flared, leaving some neighbourhoods fractured. It's not just in the headlines, it's in the way people move, speak, and interact. That tension has impacted daily life. Families who once felt rooted now feel out of place. Schools are under pressure, services stretched thin. Many parents worry not just about education, but about safety, inclusion, and stability for their kids. And then there's the economy. Leicester has always had a strong textile and retail backbone, but many small businesses, once the pride of local high streets, didn't survive the economic shocks of recent years. Others have resorted to cutting corners, leading to controversial labour practices that have made national news. Trust in the system has eroded. Housing isn't immune either. Prices have surged, especially in areas perceived as safer or more stable. But with wage growth lagging behind, more families are finding themselves priced out of their own neighbourhoods. It's a tough conversation to have, because Leicester is a city many people love. But in 2025, more residents are choosing to quietly leave, rather than continue navigating the unspoken divides and everyday struggles. They're not angry, they're just tired. And sometimes that's all it takes to say, maybe it's time to go. Number 5. Liverpool. Liverpool has always been a city with heart. From its musical legacy to its historic docks, it holds a proud place in British culture. But in 2025, that pride is being tested, and many are deciding they can't wait around for things to improve. At the core of the issue is youth unemployment. Liverpool has one of the highest rates among major UK cities. Many graduates and young professionals find themselves either underemployed or stuck in unstable, low-paying jobs. Ambitious talent is leaving for Manchester, Leeds, or further south, not out of choice, but out of necessity. The cost of living is creeping up, but wages aren't keeping pace. That gap is pushing families to the edge. For a city that once promised affordability and opportunity, that promise feels broken. And while tourism still paints the city in a vibrant light, the reality for residents can feel very different. There are parts of Liverpool that haven't seen real investment in years. Public services are overstretched, roads are crumbling, antisocial behaviour is rising. People are noticing, and they're making plans. What's especially difficult is the sense of stagnation. Major redevelopment projects have stalled. Public transport infrastructure lags behind. Even new business investments feel slow and uneven. The community spirit is still there. You can feel it in the football chants and the local markets, but spirit alone doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't fix the broken things. And in 2025, that disconnect is becoming too hard to ignore. People aren't leaving because they don't love Liverpool. They're leaving because they don't see a future here anymore. And for many, that's the hardest part, saying goodbye not just to a place, but to a dream that once felt within reach. Number 4. Bradford. Bradford is no stranger to struggle, but in 2025, many residents are reaching their limit. The city has long been labelled one of the most economically deprived areas in the UK, and sadly, the numbers haven't improved. Recent statistics show that Bradford has one of the highest child poverty rates in the country. Entire neighbourhoods feel left behind, like prosperity skipped over them completely. Jobs are scarce, and when they do exist, they're often low-wage, insecure, and lacking upward mobility. The once thriving manufacturing base has thinned out, replaced by short-term contracts and zero-hour gigs. It's not the kind of work people can build lives on. Education is another red flag. Ofsted reports continue to highlight underperformance across many schools. Young families, desperate to give their children a better future, are quietly making the decision to leave, even if it means starting over somewhere else. And let's not ignore the urban decay. Walk through parts of Bradford and you'll see the signs, boarded-up shops, abandoned buildings, and a city centre that feels stuck in a different decade. Plans for regeneration have been slow-moving, tangled in bureaucracy and delays. But perhaps the most frustrating thing for locals is the lack of a clear path forward. Hope feels like it's in short supply. Community leaders talk change, but change never quite comes. Bradford isn't just losing residents, it's losing faith. And that kind of loss runs deep. People aren't leaving because they want to. They're leaving because they've run out of reasons to stay. And when that moment hits, the decision becomes heartbreakingly simple. Number 3. Manchester. Manchester has been called the London of the North for years. But in 2025, more and more people are starting to question whether that's really a compliment anymore. Yes, the skyline is booming. Yes, there's a trendy cafe on every corner. But behind the Instagram-ready exterior, Manchester is facing serious growing pains, and many long-time residents are done waiting for things to balance out. Housing is the biggest problem. Property prices have skyrocketed, especially in and around the city centre. Even rents in outer boroughs like Salford and Fallowfield are pushing past what many can afford. And with developers focused on luxury flats over affordable homes, the working and middle classes are being pushed further and further out. The pressure on infrastructure is just as visible. Roads are clogged, trains are packed, public services are stretched to the breaking point. For every shiny new tower going up, there's a broken pavement or understaffed hospital down below. Job growth. It's there, but the competition is fierce. Tech jobs, media roles, and finance positions are being filled fast, often by newcomers from bigger cities, leaving locals feeling boxed out of the very progress their city was supposed to bring. And the vibe? It's changed. The edge that once made Manchester cool is getting lost in overpriced cocktails, student towers, and endless gentrification. It's less Manc grit, more manic gridlock. So while Manchester still sells the dream, a growing number of people are quietly cashing out. For them, it's no longer the future. It's just another crowded city with too many promises and too few results. Number 2. Birmingham. Birmingham is the UK's second largest city, and right now it's also one of the fastest growing. But ask the people who actually live there, and you'll hear a very different story. Growth doesn't always mean progress. In 2025, Birmingham feels like a city on the edge. Not because it's failing, but because it's expanding so quickly that basic systems can't keep up. Let's talk about the chaos. Roads are constantly jammed, infrastructure projects are everywhere, yet few seem finished. Public transport is inconsistent, with trains and buses frequently delayed or cancelled. For a city positioning itself as a global hub, day-to-day life can feel like a logistical nightmare. The housing crisis is especially intense. Demand is through the roof and prices have surged, particularly in traditionally affordable neighbourhoods like Moseley and Erdington. Renters face stiff competition while first-time buyers are locked out entirely. Crime is another growing concern. Official stats show a notable uptick in violent crime and antisocial behaviour, especially in city centre zones. Many residents report feeling less safe walking at night than they did just a few years ago. And while the city prides itself on diversity, that's been tested by economic inequality and underfunded public services. The gap between wealthy new arrivals and struggling long-time locals is widening, and the tension is becoming harder to ignore. Birmingham is full of ambition, but ambition without direction can be dangerous. People aren't just frustrated, they're exhausted. And more are asking the same question: if this is what progress looks like, is it worth staying for? Number 1. London. And here it is, the shocker that's somehow no longer a shock. London, the crown jewel of the UK, tops the list of cities people are fleeing in 2025. It almost feels surreal. The city that once pulled people in from all corners of the world is now pushing them away at a record pace. Let's start with the obvious. The cost of living is out of control. In 2025, average rents in central London exceed £2,300 a month. And that's for one-bed flats, not luxury penthouses. Commuters are paying thousands per year just to get to work. Grocery bills, sky high, childcare, astronomical. Even for high earners, it's become a battle just to break even. But money isn't the only reason. The quality of life is suffering. Air pollution remains among the worst in Europe. Public transport is overcrowded and unpredictable. Green spaces are shrinking. The city feels more like a pressure cooker than a home. Crime is rising in pockets once considered safe. And there's a deepening disconnect between the people who run the city and the people who actually live in it. London has become a playground for the wealthy and a survival game for everyone else. Even the culture is shifting. Long-time residents say the London they loved, full of energy, creativity and community, is fading beneath layers of gentrification, glass towers and corporate sameness. So yes, people are leaving. Families, young professionals, even entrepreneurs, they're choosing sanity over status, peace over prestige. And maybe that's the most telling sign of all. Because when London becomes unlivable, where does the country go next? So what do you think? Is your city changing for the better, or is it time to pack up too? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We actually read them, and your stories matter. If you haven't seen our last video, check it out next. It might just change where you want to live. We pour heart, time, and research into every video, so hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it means the world to us.